Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different for this week's Daily Race Seat. It's going to be a race guide because this week's Daily Race Seat is all about fuel saving and trying to get a no stop done. The no stop strategy is slightly faster, about 5 to 6 seconds quicker over race distance. So I want to show you the best way to get this done, well, the easiest way to get this done without putting too much effort in. So for this race we're starting from P10, and I'm going to show you the simplest way to get the no stop done with the Audi TT without messing around with that fuel mixture too much. Now my advice, if you are using automatic gears, is to probably just go for a one stop, because it will probably be too frustrating for you messing around with the fuel usage, and it might be quicker just to go aggressive. If we make a move round the outside there to put ourselves up into P9, and we got a car on our left up into P8, and now we're going to try and take a nice tight line through this right hand corner, and we're actually going to use a bit of fuel up here. You can see I'm going to rev it out a little bit because we want to make sure that we get past these cars, because if I can get in some clean air, it enables me to do some nice fuel saving ahead of these. It might be going a little bit slower in certain corners because they're in probably the wrong car. The Silvia is not the car to use for this. The Audi TT is a car to go for this race. Also, Suzuki Swift isn't too bad as well. That car is also very good on fuel. However, it does lack straight line speed. So yeah, give this Audi TT a go and concentrate yourself on short shifting. You can see we've put ourselves up to P7, so a nice start in this race. We're racing obviously on the racing hard tyre. Now racing hard tyre is mandatory, so no stop with the racing hard is the way to go. If you want to go aggressive, you're going to lose about 5 to 6 seconds over race pace by using the medium tyres. It is a slower strategy, but I'm going to show you how to try and get this done the simplest way as possible. So you're going to see with the shifting that I'm doing in the Audi TT, we're not over revving. We're probably not going much above 50% revs. This car accelerates very well up to 50% and doesn't lose too much acceleration when you shift up to 50. You can see still holding good speed, and it keeps amazing fuel when you drive like this. The car hardly uses any fuel, considering this is on ×7 fuel. It's actually crazy how aggressive you can drive this Audi TT with just a little bit of short shifting. Now what I'm going to add to this is, if you want to further your fuel saving, you can do that with some mixture changes. So for example, this corner here, you could use mixture 2 just while you're carrying the speed through the corner. It'll give you a little less understeer, and it'll actually help the line through the corner slightly. Also into the next braking zone, which we're going to use the second black ball before the end. You can see not this one here, I use that as a reference into this corner, and you can actually use mixture 2 or 3 through this section here, because it's just about rotating the car. Mixture 2 on the throttle here enables the car to rotate while staying on the throttle quite nicely, and you get a little bit less understeer. So factor that into your driving as well. If you feel confident making a few mixture changes, you can use mixture 2 through some of these corners, and it does actually give you a little bit less understeer. I found that during the day. You might have saw me last night as we got to the nighttime stream. We were messing with that fuel mixture ever so little, you know, mixture 2 here and there, just to give ourselves a little bit better fuel consumption and also to help with the rotation of the car. You can see in this race we're starting to catch up to P6 there, who is pushing on for P4 and 5, and we're starting to get very close to that group of cars. Now if you do get into a slipstream and you're following medium tyre runners and you can hang with them by using a little bit of extra fuel, it might be a good idea to do that in this race as well, because if you do manage to do that, you're going to be getting a little bit extra race pace out of your car, and it's worth using the tiny bit of extra fuel and then maybe saving a little bit towards the end. But just be careful you don't use too much at the start. My advice is, if you overuse the fuel on this race within the first 4 or 5 laps, it can get very hard to try and bring it back on the last few laps, and you can end up losing quite a lot of lap time. So be very cautious with how you save fuel. If you're behind a runner who's doing a no stop, who you're pretty sure is doing a no stop because you've raced him in previous races and his pace is pretty similar to yours, use some common sense, and you know, if their pace is good, just hang with them and save your fuel, and then you can go really aggressive towards the end and get the jump on them. It's definitely worth doing in this combination. But you can see in this race we're getting very, very close now. We're actually in the slipstream to P6, who is, I think, on hard tyre at this stage, but is going for a strategy race of pitting. Now you're going to see that Spook is going to end up nowhere near us by the end of the race, because he's going for the pit stop strategy, which just does not work. It's possible to do it, but what I'm saying is it's about 6 seconds. We reckon about 5 to 6 seconds slower. As you saw last night, if you were watching the stream, by the time we got to the nighttime stream, nobody was really doing the one-stop strategy. The majority of drivers, 90% of drivers, were all doing the no stop, and everyone in the top 3 top 4 positions was always finishing with a no-stop strategy. Now we've managed to catch Turbo up here. He's also on a no-stop strategy, and he's just going to let us go there because he probably knows we've got a little bit more pace there, and he's going to probably try and tuck into our slipstream. So good tactical play by Turbo there. Try and use our slipstream for a bit, help his fuel, and try and save his fuel for the no-stop that he's on. But you can see, you can drive this quite aggressive. You can see I'm shifting just below basically below that center mark for the steering wheel. That is a really good guide to use. If you shift just below that sometimes, this car will actually save you loads of fuel. Now sometimes you can rev it out a bit more, especially on uphill sections. You might want to give it slight more revs when you're going uphill, and then save it a bit more when you're going downhill. So for example, here I'm in 6th gear, ready for the downhill part, because I know as soon as we go downhill, that 6th gear will accelerate. Also, on that part of the track there, if you are on a slipstream, I do recommend, as we have a driver going off, and one thing I want to say is very good driving by that driver there, who pulled off to the right hand side after he went off the track to make sure he wasn't on the racing line. So credit to him there for the sensible driving. Wanted to point that out on the video because it's something that I like to see. But yeah, if you are going on a down, like on that long straight, and you're in a slipstream, you can also use high mixture settings. So if you're really close to the car in front, get that mixture 6 out. Just let your car coast in mixture 6, then back to mixture 1 for the acceleration zone, and you'll save incredible amounts of fuel. That is where a lot of fuel saving is done when you're in the slipstream. You can really, if you're really close within 3 tenths, get into mixture 6, you'll only lose about a tenth, then back into mixture 1, and you can accelerate behind them and get right back up to their slipstream, and you'll find that you'll save a lot of fuel doing that method. But you can see in this race, we're on lap 6 now. We're up to P4 from P10. So we started in P10 and we're already up to P4. So this race is going quite well. You can see we're 14 seconds behind P1. Now they are on a push strategy of using up fuel and going for a pit stop and changing tyres. Now this is not the strategy to do in this race, and you're going to see why later on. It's just too much time in the pit lane. The pit lane loss here, which is really strange, is actually really high. It's over 20 seconds, which on GT Sport it wasn't anywhere near that. So yeah, it is a shame that these strategies are a little bit separated. It would be nice if we got to a race where the strategies were almost identical. I do think they tried to make this race identical because they've made this race quite long, so it looks like they've tried to bring the strategies quite close together, but they've still failed purely because of the Audi TT. This Audi TT does need its fuel consumption adjusting slightly because it's just far too strong on fuel. Now we're going to skip to the end of lap 6 here, and we've got the medium tyre runners behind us starting to catch us up. Now this can cause issues, and in this situation you don't want to battle too much, but you don't want to lose time. Now this is going to be a problem for a lot of you, and you'll probably have had this experience in the race already, when you've got the medium tyre runners who are going flat out on fuel and you're on the hard tyre and you're trying to save fuel, and it is a very difficult situation. You can see as we're coming through this right hand corner, you can see in the mirror there, half a second behind us, and they are probably going to be pitting within a lap or two. So it's quite frustrating when you're on the no stop strategy. So I'm not even going to fight this. I'm actually going to let him go on the right hand side because I don't want to battle it too much. However, I don't think he was the most confident as we went through the corner. He seemed to go in a little bit narrow, but then didn't get on the throttle, which was really strange. He just didn't accelerate on the hill. So I was still short shifting a bit and decided, you know what, we're going to actually go back up the inside because I can't afford to lose that much on acceleration. And we're back into the position and just going our way through these corners. Now you can see he's obviously on the medium tyres. You can see the extra grip he gets through the corners, and it's pretty clear to see that he was on the medium tyre. So again, he's back in that slipstream and he's going to go back for the move. And again, I'm not going to fight it because I'm not trying to lose time, but I couldn't afford to back out of the throttle as much as I would have had to do when he took that really slow line out of the corner. But again, as we come through here, he's gone defensive. I'm going to the left. We're not really worrying too much about that. But again, as we get on the throttle, he goes a little bit wide there and he actually clips the sand. So again, I'm going to go to the right here because I don't really want to start putting him under pressure right up his slipstream. And then we're going to tuck back up behind him and just follow through these corners. But he takes a really wide line there. I'm not sure if he was driving defensive or just leaving the space in case we were going for the move. But again, as we come through here, you can see we're going to go down the right side, and he goes a little bit deep in there, and then again through this left hand corner he goes way too deep, misses the apex, and I decide I'm going to take that apex. He goes off wide and we just about squeeze through there and up into P4 and yeah, hold this position. So now we've got another driver behind us who is also the driver that went off in the gravel before, so he's actually caught right up. So his pace is pretty strong behind us. So again, we need to push a little bit here because we've got 2.9 laps of fuel, which is just under the fuel that I need, but that's not really a massive problem because you can get the fuel back with the Audi at the end when it's that close quite quite easily with just a bit of short shifting. So this lap needs to be quite strong, because we need to try and pull away from that medium tyre runner and give ourselves a gap. And you can see there, as we come out the corner, we build up a nice 6 tenths gap, actually nearly 7 tenths there, over 7 tenths. And that is the kind of gap that I need now, so I can just concentrate on my fuel saving and the lines. And you can see, still doing that fuel saving, shifting just around the 50% mark as we skip to the end of lap 8. And we can see the two top drivers there, P1 and P2, into the pits with very, very low fuel. So they've been going really aggressive on that fuel. I've still got 19% of fuel, so they are going to have to refuel, which is going to add a few seconds to their pit stop. So as we come through the final corner, you can see here, we've also got Nico. Pay attention to Nico behind us. He's not far behind us in the Suzuki Swift. Now that car, like I say, very good on fuel, but not very good on straight line speed. And he's actually jumped himself up into P2, just 2 seconds behind us, and actually 1.6, 2 seconds behind us there. And you can see through the corners, that car is actually pretty strong. You can see in acceleration zones and the cornering section, it's actually got good pace. Where that car is going to lose out is the straight lines. And you can see I've actually got to do a bit of fuel saving here. We've only got 1.8 laps of fuel left. And we're going to have to just try and make sure we stay ahead of Nico. Nico also on the no-stop strategy. Started from the back there behind me, and is 1.7 seconds behind us in that Swift there. So Nico, a better driver than me. Better at this track probably than me. But I do have the better car, I think, overall for this combination. So the Audi TT, a little bit more power as we work our way up the hill, but he's still only 1.6 seconds behind us. And the one-stoppers are just too far back. You can see they're actually about 3-4 seconds behind us. And even though I've got to do a lot of fuel saving over the remaining 1.5 laps, 1.5 lap that we got left, we should be completely safe here. We just got to make sure that we keep the short shifting going, make sure that we save that fuel again as we get to about 50% on that throttle there into 6th gear. Let it take us down this hill in 6th. But as we come through here, keep your eye on Nico. He goes a little bit wide. Unfortunate this for Nico, because he was actually on for a good result in that Swift. As we come through this corner, Nico goes a little bit deep and runs into the gravel, and that is going to kill the speed on that car, because you really have to, them corners are the corners that need to be nailed in that car, because it's not got the top speed. And you can see he actually loses the position. So unfortunately for Nico, he was probably going to end up with a P2 in this race, but you can see by the time we get to lap 10, we still got a 2-second gap, even with the extreme fuel saving that I had to do just to recover that fuel. But yeah, shame for Nico. Would have had a P2 from the back of the grid there with the Suzuki Swift, which is would have been a really nice result for him. But you can see we're in P1, and this strategy of just short shifting in mixture 1, not even worrying about mixture changes, has really worked. Now remember, if you do want to do this strategy with mixture changes, it will actually help a little bit in some of the slower corners. But we take the finishing line there, last lap of 206, solid drive there from P10, and a nice win. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you've took some tips with it with regards to the fuel saving. And yet, remember, you can actually extend that fuel saving with a bit of mixture changes with 2 and 3 for some of them corners, and the fast corners at the end of the lap. You can actually use some mixture changes. So yeah, hopefully it's helped you out. Subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments if it's helped you out. I'll see you for more of these races in the future. Bye, everyone.